We already knew that the Republicans succeeded in regaining control of the National Labor Relations Board back in December, but now a Democratic congressman has revealed the reason why that happened. And it turns out that it came down to either the incompetence or the willful ignorance of his own party. In a thread on X, Congressman Khanna explained how Democrats needlessly gave up majority control of what he describes as America's leading labor law enforcement agency. The NLRB helps to protect workers who want to organize from union busting practices and cracks down on businesses that retaliate against union workers. The board is made up of 5 members that are nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Last month, the 5-year term of one Democrat on the board named Lauren McFerrin was set to expire. So Chuck Schumer moved to re-elect her to the board for another term, which would have secured a 3-2 Democratic majority through 2026. It was reported last year that a vote to move ahead with the nomination of Lauren McFerrin, who currently chairs the NLRB, failed 49-50. Had she been confirmed to another 5-year term, it would have cemented a Democratic majority on the agency's board for the first 2 years of the incoming Trump administration. Now, Trump will likely be able to nominate McFerrin's replacement. And we can guess how that's going to go. Here's how the Democrats fumbled it, according to Khanna. This is a thread from his X account, so buckle in. On the morning of the 11th, Senate Democrats had a chance, but we delayed the vote for what I'm hearing described as no reason until Vance and Manchin returned, deadlocking the vote at 49-49. We then failed to get word to Vice President Harris quickly enough to come and deliver the tie-breaking vote. In the 90 minutes that transpired, Senator Manchin, of all people, returned first, swinging the vote in the other direction and ceding the NLRB to MAGA control 2 years earlier than necessary. These procedural blunders have massive implications for the American people who deserve better from their elected officials. American workers deserve an explanation. It will hurt the young folks organizing at Starbucks and the workers organizing at Amazon. It is inexcusable and inexplicable that we did not prioritize confirming the NLRB appointees like we do federal judges and have seated the board 2 years before we needed to. So either the Democrats were too incompetent and lazy to make sure they kept majority control of the board, or they intentionally gave it up to Republicans. Either way, it's not a good look. Other former Democratic lawmakers joined Khanna in slamming the party, including Congressman Tim Ryan, who wrote, "How do Dems expect hard-working class people, white, black, or brown, to follow them into battle for a higher standard of living when the Dems keep doing dumb things like this? The incompetence is why we have bled working class voters for a long time. Thank you, Khanna." So Tim Ryan seems to be touching on something that a lot of us here at this network have been feeling for a long time, that so many of our issues in this country are less about racial or political divisions and more about economic inequities and workplace injustice. And if Khanna is frustrated with the Democratic Party, he's certainly not alone, although he could have gotten there faster. The rest of us have been frustrated for some time. Some of us are so frustrated that we've even stopped voting for the Democrats altogether, or at least we're not as excited to do so as we used to be. John, do you think the Democrats will ever get their you-know-what together?
I mean, as long as it doesn't really matter to those in leadership whether they win or lose, in terms of keeping their positions, having influence, getting donations and all that, I mean, why would they significantly change if they don't need to hold on to their position? I mean, the Democrats lost. It was fairly devastating, and the leadership is all the same. There was no penalty. There was no punishment. And it's not to say that they can't, just by happenstance or random chance decide to, run things a little bit differently or campaign a little bit differently next time, but they haven't been incentivized to. Imagine if they had all been cleared out after that election. Well, then whoever took their place the next time around would be really worried about the consequences of the election, which would be convenient because then that would match their constituents who are also incredibly worried about the consequences and stakes in the election. So I hate that there aren't those consequences. But when it comes to this, like, I've tried to figure out, like, Roe, I love that he's willing to identify that this happened, and he's, it's not necessarily pointing the blame at any individual, but it's pretty scathing, the picture that it paints of what happened. But like he lays out these two possibilities, that it's incompetence or it's a willful act. And like it seems more willful to me, allowing someone like Joe Manchin as one of his last acts in Congress to get this done. But I don't even understand, like, why at this point would you allow him to? It's not like you need to give him this so that he'll vote your way in 2 months or on a judge or whatever. He's out of here. What's the point in helping him out? And then I thought, well, maybe this is like strike back for something that this incumbent previously did, but I haven't seen any indication of anything that they did that would cause them to prefer allowing Manchin to nuke them being brought back and instead giving the seat over to Donald Trump. I don't understand. But the funny thing is, this sort of reminds me a little bit of the situation with Obama and the Supreme Court as we transitioned from his presidency to Trump the first time around. It's like, it's not enough that Donald Trump has, so like basically the entirety of the status quo, economic powers and all that in the U.S., the justice system protecting him from consequences. They also just decide to offer things up to him every time, as if what he was getting wasn't already enough. And so I don't understand this. I don't know at the end of the day which of those two theses is more likely to be correct, but I don't like either of them.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it did give me flashbacks to RBG and like that whole saga that went on. And there's definitely other comparable moments in our nation's history that feel like this. And, you can argue that this isn't the most consequential vote, but really it does. It affects so many people. And these are the things, like the things that don't grab the biggest headlines. Those are the things that a lot of people are going to feel, whether or not they know why they're feeling them, right? Whether they know why certain things are the way that they are. Then you can go back and be like, oh, it's because of this, but then it's too late, right? So what are you going to do at that point? So it's very frustrating. It feels like the gamification of our American political system, right? Everything feels very strategic and everybody's just playing a game, playing their hand that they were dealt. It feels like Catan or like Civ 6 or something like that, so very, very frustrating. But that's
Thank you for trying to put it in terms I would understand.
You're welcome, John.
I appreciate that.